Think of the absolute smartest person you personally know. Got them? Now ask yourself a strange question. Why don't you ever see them arguing in comment sections? Why aren't they at family dinners aggressively dismantling their uncle's weird political theories? At first glance, you might think they just don't care, or maybe they don't want the conflict. Not quite. The truth is, they don't argue because they figured out a very uncomfortable secret about human nature. Most highly intelligent people actually start out as massive arguers. When they are younger, they operate on a seemingly obvious assumption. If someone is wrong, you just show them the evidence. You lay out the facts, you explain the logic step by step, and obviously the other person will say, "Wow, thanks, I was incorrect. Sounds reasonable," except it rarely happens. They quickly run into a bizarre wall. They present absolute proof, and the other person doubles down. This is where things get weird. For a long time, psychologists assumed arguments were just two people trying to find the truth. But watch two strangers argue over whether a movie was good or whether a specific diet works. It rarely looks like a search for truth. It looks like a war. Because for most people, an argument is not an exchange of data. It is a defense of identity. Let's say your coworker has spent 5 years believing a specific management style makes him a great boss. If you walk in with a spreadsheet proving his style actually makes employees quit, you aren't just correcting his math. You are telling him he is a bad boss. You are attacking who he is. And when self-esteem is threatened, logic gets thrown out the window. The smart person slowly realizes you cannot use logic to talk someone out of a position they didn't use logic to get into. But the strange part is that intelligence can actually make arguing harder. Imagine two people discussing climate change. One person knows almost nothing. The other has spent years studying the topic. Who sounds more confident? Usually the first one, because ignorance is simple. Knowledge is crowded with exceptions, uncertainties, and unanswered questions. The more you understand a subject, the more difficult it becomes to speak with absolute certainty. And this creates a strange imbalance. The people who know the least often speak with the greatest certainty. The people who know the most often sound hesitant, not because they are confused, because they can see complexities that everyone else misses. A fool sees one possible answer. An expert sees 10 possible ways they could be wrong. And from the outside, certainty almost always looks more convincing than caution. And that leads to a harsh calculation. What is the actual price of being right? Let's say you do it. You corner someone, you trap them with facts, and you win the argument. What is your prize? You usually lose a friend. You create a quiet enemy. You generate resentment. The smartest people eventually notice something even more frustrating. Being right does not automatically make you influential. A scientist can spend 20 years studying a problem and explain it with perfect accuracy. Then someone with no expertise walks onto a podcast, speaks with complete confidence for 30 seconds, and reaches millions. Truth and persuasion are not the same thing. And once you realize that, arguing starts to feel less like a path to enlightenment and more like a performance nobody asked to watch. The mathematics of winning an argument almost always result in a net negative. There is an old proverb that says, if you wrestle with a pig, you both get completely covered in mud, but the pig likes it. So, highly intelligent people stop wrestling. They start choosing their battles. After enough conversations, they start noticing a pattern. Most arguments end exactly where they started, not because the evidence was weak, but because neither side was actually listening. One side was waiting to speak. The other side was waiting to win. And once you see that pattern often enough, arguing stops feeling productive. So they just let it go. They let people be wrong. They let the uncle rant at Thanksgiving. They let the random guy on Twitter claim the earth is flat. Instead, they discovered something far more unsettling. The more you learn about the world, the harder certainty becomes. The smartest people aren't silent because they have all the answers. They're silent because they know how many questions are left. And once you truly understand that, winning arguments stops feeling important. Perhaps that's the biggest difference between intelligence and arrogance. Arrogance grows louder as it learns. Intelligence grows quieter.